So onto our main topic for today, which is exciting, which is why we're here today at Legal Week, or one of the reasons that we're here at Legal Week. During our presentation this morning, we had the chance to unveil a project that our team has been working on with your team. And that project is an online course that law firm leaders or individuals in firms, like maybe you're at a firm that has done nothing around AI, which is not uncommon these days, and you would like to do something around AI, you can take an online course that tracks the roadmap that you and your colleagues have used to transform the way that the AAA thinks about its business. And it's online. It's 6 modules, about 30 minutes each. And then there are quizzes that you can take to earn a badge. You can put on LinkedIn to share for future employers and your colleagues. LinkedIn noted that AI literacy was the #1 skill on the rise this year.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
And we established during our panel presentation that you have ticked off all 5 of the top 5 rising skills in your work.
Yep, right there. The second one is conflict management, right? Third one is adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right about that?
I think so.
4 is public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
What's 5?
I think creative problem
solving.
Bing, 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 bing. Right down the
Venn diagram right here.
Totally.
Yep.
So people should be following what you and your colleagues are doing.
Pretty much. And now they can.
Yeah. So we met with about a dozen of your team members, spent weeks sort of learning what you all were doing over there at the AAA that makes you so effective and so far ahead of everybody.
It's less mysterious than severance. We have no severed floor.
The work is mysterious and important.
Yes.
It definitely is, but you are definitely much less mysterious. I want to share it. And so you know my colleague, Marielle, of course, and you also know that I love a whiteboard. So Marielle and I spent weeks with whiteboards unpacking everything we learned from your amazing team. And then we repackaged it into this curriculum that includes everything from a primer on Gen AI, why it matters for law firm business models, how you nourish a culture of innovation, how you select and pilot AI projects, how you solve for the innovator's dilemma, and then how, as a leader, you orchestrate all of this together. And so we unveiled that this morning. People can sign up to take the class at, I think, AAAicourse.org.
Yeah.
That is the vanity URL that your new CMO shared with me.
Yes.
He first had to explain to me what a vanity URL is.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He was throwing a lot of terms my way, and I said, I understand none of these.
He's got all the lingo. I know.
He does.
Yeah.
So there's a vanity URL you could use to sign up for this course. And there's a Legal Week discount for the first 30 days, which this episode will coincide with if you're listening to it now.
And if you are a PLI, what's the high level member? Privileged member. It's you will have access to it for no cost through PLI, which we second exciting announcement today. In addition to launching the course, we announced a brand new joint venture with PLI, first around this course to distribute the content. Sharon Crane, who's the CEO at PLI, is a rock star, and it's been an amazing opportunity to work with Sharon and you at the same time. I feel like this is as good as it gets. And Sharon reports, kind of like LinkedIn, that AI content is the main request, the top request, I should say, that PLI gets. So they are looking for more content like this. So and just one follow up on how great it was to have you working with us. I mean, as you know, we've been going a million miles a minute and getting an awful lot done in a pretty short period of time. But one thing we don't have time for is to stop and think about how did we do it and what's the framework and how can others benefit from it. And that's it's like the Jen Leonard superpower. No, seriously, you literally listen and you're like, oh yeah, you're using this framework and you actually can make sense of it and translate it to a bigger world, which is amazing because you and I have been talking to legal audiences a lot over the last year, and we've had this question many, many times. They've said, oh, can you come help us? I've had many people say, can you come to my firm and help us figure out how to do this? And I'm kind of I have this other full-time job. And so I can't really, there's only one of me. So having you be able to put the context around it and make it available to everybody is super exciting.
Oh, thank you so much. It's what I love to do, and it's what Marielle and I love to do.
Yeah, Marielle's amazing too.
Marielle's incredible. She's probably blushing 7,000 shades of red that I've ever mentioned her name. But she is incredible, and Marielle designed all these great worksheets too that are downloadable, fillable PDFs. She's very particular about that. She's like, make sure that they're fillable PDFs. We have to make sure people can type into them. But the goal really is, like you said, we've been struggling, including in co-teaching law students. Like, how do we move beyond sitting in a room with 16 people, with you flying in from Detroit once a week to do this? And it felt so good today to be able to finally have something to hand to people and say, you can also take these worksheets. Your situation is going to be different than Bridget's and her team's. So how do you adapt this to what you're doing? And like you said, I was just at the Philadelphia Bar Association a couple weeks ago, and solo and small practices are really struggling because there's nobody there to really guide them. And it's nice to finally be able to say, like, here's a toolkit that you can use. If you want, additional help, you can hire somebody or, bring somebody onto your team. But it was really cool to get to unveil it today, and your whole team was there. Many of them were there, which was really cool.
Fun.
So we thought maybe today we could spend a little bit of time asking you in like a little mini interview about what makes this course so special, what market it's serving, that kind of thing. So if you're game,
let's do it.
Got a few questions for you. Okay, so why create this course? I mean, we sort of just talked about it.
I mean, in addition to what we just said, I can't, it's a way to scale us, you and I, the talk that we give, we can only give it to a certain number of people, a certain number of times a week. And then eventually, like, we need some other ways to, like...
Until next year, when we find out how to clone ourselves and make humanoid robots.
I mean, those look amazing, by the way. They're going really fast.
I want us to have, like, little pairs of humanoid robots in every room doing lots of podcasts.
So much into that. I mean, please,
But we needed a short-term fix.
Yeah, in the meantime, the idea of, like, being able to just scale it to the legal profession is what I'm interested in, because I really... As you know, I'm like a big optimist about some of the long-standing problems that I feel like smart lawyers with this technology as a teammate can really solve now, but only if we get everybody on board and everybody is like in the game. And I do think, like we've said before, we are now at a place where everybody has resolved themselves to the fact that it is coming, but I want them to be more than resolved. I want them to be in the conversation and like in the building process. And so it's a way to do that. I mean, you mentioned like law firm leaders or even individual lawyers at firms that maybe haven't had a head start, and certainly some of the mid-market and smaller market and solo practices, it's much harder for. But I also am thinking about, like, if you're a law student or a lawyer who's thinking about interviewing at a different firm or a different place, like, it's great content, I think, for taking into a potential new employer or a potential next employer. Like, it can give you a sophistication around what change management looks like with a disruption that is kind of general purpose technology like this one, and a framework for how to think about it and how to be a leader at, in a legal organization around change management. And that's kind of what the course is not about, particular tech solutions. I mean, that my team has partnered with many of the AI companies out there, and we're building our own products, point solutions, and AI native products on OpenAI's technology. But we're a Microsoft shop, so that's what we build with. But we are agnostic in this course about what you should use in terms of a particular tech platform. This is about the human part of the change management. That's the story that we're telling in the course. So.
I had to laugh this morning when you said that it was tool agnostic, because I'm going to mention Marielle again, who's she's going to quit because she does not like to be mentioned. She bought me for Christmas a hat that says tool agnostic because we say it so many times to our clients. Amazing. Because that's what we really care about as well. Like the tech is going to be the tech. It's going to figure itself, not figure itself out, but it's, it's an easier solve than the human piece, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's easier even to learn. The tech is much easier to learn than the change management piece, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it was interesting when you were just talking about bringing this to a new firm. I was also thinking a lot of firms right now are, doing what I call innovation by press release and like trying to make it look like not all, to be fair, like some of them are doing real things.
Oh,
and
sure.
I think even the ones doing that are at least thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it seems like it could be a good tool to attract people to their firm. Like we are all taking this course. We're all earning these badges.
Yeah.
Like we're all thinking about this at every different level. The AI show that we listened to, the other podcast, I've heard Paul Raitzer talk about like if you're a not even a young person, just a person looking for a job.
Yeah.
Like you should not be going to an organization that doesn't have an AI strategy or is actively thinking about what its AI shaped future looks like.
I know. It's one of the things I tell law students when I talk to them is like, I really think it should matter in your selection of like where you go, because you need a career 2 years from now and 5 years from now and 10 years from now. And I think you have a great future. I actually think it's a really exciting time to be graduating from law school, but a time when you want to be a little discerning about what the organization's like strategy is around this technology.
Yeah. And to put a really fine point on it, and connect it with optimism, I worked for a very long time supporting law students and thinking through which firm they were going to go to essentially.
Yeah.
And they all looked exactly the same to them. And in many ways they were very much the same.
Yeah.
And this moment just feels like this rare opportunity for firms to differentiate themselves.
Absolutely.
And this is, if I were the leader of a firm, this would be like priority one, is make sure that our future lawyers know that we take this seriously and are reshaping our legal services. So there's a lot of AI courses out there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of AI courses for lawyers. We did a lot of background research when we worked with you to find all of them, and there are many. So what makes this course different from the other ones on the market?
So, maybe you've seen others that I'm not aware of, but I reviewed your research. So if you have, you kept it from me. No, I think one important difference is like we're telling the real story about a successful legacy legal organization that has all of the same barriers that every other successful legal organization, which is lots of law firms, have. And how in this, real world experience, we pushed through what a lot of those barriers are. I mean, nothing kills innovation like success. The AAA has been very successful for a very long time. Innovation is hard for lawyers. We're not all lawyers at the AAA, but a lot of us are, and even those of us who are not, like, serve lawyers. So we have a very like legal-centric culture, which we need to. Those are the people who use our services, and change management is especially hard in legal. You've heard me say a million times, for lots of good reasons. I mean, they're cultural in part, but they're also normative and in important ways. Like lawyers are supposed to be the like risk managers and the like slow movers. In a room. That's just hard for disruptive technology and figuring out how to adapt it. And then I do think the fact that the course itself is like centered on the learner and gives you an opportunity to like build it for your practice or your firm or your organization makes it unique. But I hope people enjoy the hearing from my different team members. And you've heard me also say this a million times. Like, I think this is a moment where you absolutely cannot trust the change management to your engineering team, even though it is a tech like disruption. It has to be every member of your team. It's everybody in. And you'll see from my team that like that's been our approach. And some of your best ideas are going to come from people who are not engineers. Although there's so much fun for the engineers to have right now too.
Yeah. And the learner centricity piece was the part that really excited us about working with all of you too in the research that we did on other courses. And there are good courses out there too, but a lot of them are sort of either sage on the stage, like just information delivery, or like a panel discussion among people talking about it. Nothing wrong with panel discussion, but we really wanted this to be actionable, practical, and learner-centric. So what do you think are the most important lessons that learners will take out of the course?
I mean, in some ways, like, even though the content is AI, and AI is, the reason for what we've done over the last 2 years, there's going to be some other disruption, like, next year. I mean, I keep reading about bird flu, trying to figure out if it's hopefully it's not another like negative health disruption, but there's going to be like more and more disruption facing lawyers who happen to be, in the middle of sort of geopolitical change. And I think the most important lesson is one that's going to be transferable to the next disruption, which is you can really create a culture of innovation and adaptability and creativity and a bias toward action that just put you in a really great spot, not just to be like competitive vis-a-vis your peers, but actually to build a practice that's that your clients really appreciate, but also that you do too. Like, I hope one of the lessons that comes through is how much more fun it is to have a what if we could approach to the future than a why we can't. So I do think it's this change management toolkit that's the most important piece of it. But I don't know, you might have other ideas. What do you?
I mean, totally agree on all that. But one of the things, and we talked about it this morning, talk about it constantly, but like leadership is so key. And again, like the tech is not the hardest part, but it really is like a mindset shift. And what we got from interviewing your team, it came up again and again, this idea that at first people were afraid or nervous or unsure how to use it. And once you said, like, we could do all sorts of things we could never do before, and you started doing it, they all talked about this friendly competition that emerged. And like, not only were they testing things, but they're like, I want to be the first one to tell Bridget about this, or like my peers about this. And that's what I hope leaders take away from this is you don't need to be a technologist. You don't need to have like the best subscription to whatever leading tech platform there is.
Yeah.
The much more important thing is to have a mindset around experimentation, learning, growth within like safe confines, which we talk about in the course. So that was my biggest takeaway, and just how much fun it must be to be part of your team, because they were all like, I just can't wait to tell Bridget about new things, which is really
it's pretty fun.
And you could see it today. They are having fun and
Yeah.
really should be proud of all the work that they're doing.
Yeah, they're great. They're fantastic. Yeah.
So we talked about the PLI partnership a little bit. That to me just seems like a great example of innovation in action. Like the three of us had worked together in different contexts, and it's like, well, we want to broaden reach of this course, and PLI is the leading educator of lawyers, so it seemed like a no-brainer. I just want to circle back on that and say, while we were sort of talking about this, I think Sharon Crane was in a Jeep in like the jungles of Costa Rica trying to get to her plane. You were in California around some dogs in a backyard.
Yep.
And it was just a great image of women just getting stuff done.
I said that. I'm like, yep. I'm like, we don't let like geography or transportation or animals like get in the way. We're like, we can get this interview done. Like, we were literally doing an interview with Bob Ambrogi at like from from the various like places. So
that was amazing. I always say like being a working woman is kind of like living in a video game where it just gets harder and harder all the time. But so I felt a little bit like we were in Donkey Kong or something like that. That's all I have to say about that one.
Yep.
And I guess just, do you see other courses on the horizon now that you've gone through this process once?
I do. I mean, again, because it's such a better way to scale like knowledge transfer, I don't see why we wouldn't figure out how to build additional courses. I mean, we're already doing some new things at the AAA that I can't wait to, show the world. So I could imagine like follow-on modules for great experiments we've been running that have like taught us a lot about moving your workforce and rebuilding your teams. In addition to that, this particular course I think would be really interesting to do for in-house teams that you and I also present to now and again. Courts, legal aid organizations. I would love to think about the different ways we could build a course that would make that would be a little bit more targeted towards different audiences. And I think PLI is just a great partner to think about what that looks like with. So I'm super excited. I mean, in addition to like all the ways in which the business of law and the operating system of law will change for the better in the coming years, I do think there's opportunity for education if you have some runway to do some innovative things. And like, I feel really lucky that we do, and PLI does. Like, it's hard if you're a tenured member of a faculty at a law school and semesters start in September and they end in November, and everything has to be 14 weeks and either 2 credits or 4 credits. And you have all these like constraints. And I love that we can build whatever in whatever format and then distribute it and like give it to people in ways that are that make a lot more sense with the way people can need content now. So I do think like education for lawyers, in addition to the business of law and the practice of law, is like a big open frontier. And the AAA has an educational mission, and so it's exciting to be able to think about the ways we can stretch in that way. I know you've been thinking about this for a long time. But
well, just education generally.
Yeah.
I just think it is not designed to meet the moment and hasn't been for a very long time. And so it was so much fun to work on a project to actually roll up your sleeves and think like, things are changing really quickly. How would you design something to get it in the hands of people as quickly as possible in a way that they can use in whatever way they want? It's almost like general purpose education in a way, right? How do you make that useful for them? And who knows how far we go with these types of projects, but I feel like there are lessons to be learned for education more broadly. And we're at this, this is going down a whole other rabbit hole, but we're at this moment where a lot of these institutions are under tremendous stress.
Yep.
And one of the silver linings of that, I hope, is that some innovative models will emerge and that the world will be more receptive to them as an old world order is sort of eroding over time.
Yeah. I had this line in the pandemic that like went viral. I said it was not the disruption we wanted, but it was the disruption we needed, because it took, a significant disruption for courts to figure out that we could like reach our users much more effectively in a way that was, made more sense for them and their jobs and their families. And then that allowed us to try a whole bunch of new things. And I do feel like education will benefit from some of this experimentation and innovation that's going to be needed given the rocky road ahead.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of creating modules for legal aid organizations and public interest lawyers as well. I would say like a lot of the skepticism I get in presentations comes from public interest lawyers.
Yeah.
Understandably, and their pushback is sort of like they're dealing with people's most precious parts of their lives, whether that's housing or their family members.
Totally.
But I just think having somebody like you with your background is like the perfect answer to that. Is we're not suggesting like those are the situations where we want you to be with your clients. Yeah. And we want all the rest to sort of be augmented through AI, right?
Right.
So that will be our next project.
Lots to do.
Lots to do. Thank you for tuning in to 2030 Vision, AI and the Future of Law. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Stay informed and inspired as we continue to explore the AI-driven future of the legal profession. We'll see you next time.